Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of NAHL Coaches Corner. I'm Alex Kyrias. Today we are joined by the head coach of the Corpus Christi IceRays, Mr. Nate Weossner. Nate, how you doing today?
Pretty good, just hanging in there.
Good. Thank you so much for joining us, Nate. We're getting everybody's thoughts about the last 3 months. Obviously, the season ended abruptly. The last 3 months, we've heard from a lot of people from the league on down, but we're getting the coaches' thoughts on what happened when the season was ended to up to this point right now. Just kind of your thoughts about the last 3 months.
Yeah, this is it's obviously new territory for everybody. Um, Everything's so speculative, and we just kind of have to wait and see what the next couple day to week to month brings, kind of. So that part of it's been kind of nerve wracking, I think, for everybody in the country and in the world for that matter. So it's been a trying time and definitely something new for everybody.
I know that the end of the season was actually something that was probably optimistic for you guys. You were a coach that came in the middle of the season last year for Corpus Christi, had some success towards the end of the year, but obviously we're not going to go to the playoffs. The teams had already been settled in the South Division. So I know the end of the season was something that wasn't all bad for you guys because it allowed you to move forward into this year with your own team, your own initiatives, things like that. So just explain maybe a little bit about how the process went of you getting the position there in Corpus Christi and then what you tried to focus on for the remainder of last season.
It really happened fast, and I kind of got the call about it on a Tuesday and ended up there on a Thursday, and so it was a really quick turnaround, but kind of gave me a couple days to get ready for it. Met the team on, yeah, I think that Thursday afternoon. We had a Friday morning skate, and then we played 3 nights against Shreveport, and it was definitely a process for us because the team wasn't familiar with me and vice versa. And so it was kind of like starting from scratch. But what we really tried to ensue is some hope, direction, and confidence for these guys, and an understanding of building a foundation that they can always stand on so they can kind of raise their level of play in their game. But we always have something there to fall back on. And really just creating like a relationship with all the players, understanding what they're going through, having that empathy with them, and as far as just even the process of junior hockey and them finding their way, getting better every day, and kind of approaching it in that matter. And we started to have those building blocks kind of come alive as the end approached, and it would have been really nice to see kind of how that ended for us. And like you said, we knew we were out of it. But the one thing about this group was they didn't look at it in that regard. They looked at it as I can keep getting better. They really enjoyed each other, and that was something that went a long ways because they rallied around each other and they were there for each other even in the hard times, and there to lift each other up as well as the good times. So that part of it was good. And I know there's a lot of teams that were in a position to really go on a run, and so I can't imagine how they were feeling about this. But for us, would have been nice to see once we started getting that traction, what the rest of the year would have kind of panned out to be like.
And so, as you head into the off season, obviously it's your first experience as a head coach with a draft, albeit the supplemental draft, which was entirely new. What was kind of your strategy going into that, knowing who you may have coming back and then knowing who you may have leaving heading into the supplemental draft? And were you happy with your selections and the overall process?
Yeah, we do like who we have coming back, but we wanted to make sure that we enhance every part of our game really. We drafted Gade Mirov and Payne from the USHL, and they're the type of players that they're honest, they're hard, they're really good 200-foot players, and those things are really efficient, and that's kind of what we were looking for. We want to be hard to play against, especially on the back end, and so those two we thought brought that to the table as far as what we were looking for. We got John Lundy, is committed to UMass, who played out in the BCHL last year, who was prior tender for Corpus Christi, and I think he's really going to bring some hard skill too. He's not shy. He plays through people, and he can bring some skill element with it too. And I think he's going to be a great addition to the way we want to play. So ultimately, we're happy with how it went. It'll be interesting to see how this next draft goes too, with the extension of this. So I'm looking forward to it.
I was going to ask about that, Nate. Upcoming here in the next couple of weeks, NAHL teams are going to begin the tryout camp process and then headed into the entry draft on July 21st. And obviously, that's the next big step here in building your rosters. But as a new head coach and as a coach that's been at the midget level, explain why it's so important for players to consider the tryout camp process with NAHL teams, because you're pulling players from all over, not just tenders, not just draft picks, but these tryout camps are really important in what you may do on July 21st.
Yeah, and our camp is actually after it, but that's fine with us. We wanted to have a camp kind of later. It just kind of fit where we're at right now, and but I think the tryout process is extremely important with opportunity first and foremost, because I think there's players that really come out of camp, and I got a couple good examples of that. That come in and make a team. So that's one opportunity that I think players can come into every camp and have a chance to do, because I think every coach would say the same thing when they say that, they want to make sure that players are coming in, they have a competitive environment, and they want the best guys there, and they want to try to see if, the guys can come in and take spots. And it's no different with us. We want to make sure we get the best players there. I think on the other side of it is the opportunity for future involvement with teams. When you get younger players there that you want to keep an eye on and you can kind of build those relationships with, I think that's important too. And I think players need to understand that if you're not ready for the league, these tryouts are still important to kind of go through, because as teams go out and watch players, they do know their game and they see them, and that's excellent. But I do think it's important for players to come in under that controlled environment, that teams create, and so they can have their own measuring stick with it, if that makes sense.
Nate, finally, what are some of the few things that you've learned here in the last, 5 or 6 months of being the head coach of the Corpus Christi IceRays that's going to allow you to be a better coach, better prepared for the upcoming 2021 season, and I guess more importantly, allow you to help with the advancement of players and hopefully get the IceRays back into the playoffs next season?
I think a lot of it's patience. I had to, that's one thing that I wanted to make sure that I did a good job of, and sometimes it's easier than some other times, but being patient with players and their process and being fair with them, and don't always need to be right, but we want to try to figure out the right way to do things that's going to help create that environment where players feel comfortable coming in and competing, but then have an understanding that that's a requirement every day. And so I think I have to keep learning in that matter with the patient side of it, and learning from other coaches in this league too. There's guys that I brush shoulders with every weekend now that have done this for a long time, and they're great guys and they're great coaches, and I think that's a big place where I can learn, kind of pick their brain, because at the end of the day we all compete against each other, but we want this to to stay a strong league and to keep growing as a league too. And I think the more better coaches you have, the better off it is, and I can learn from a lot of these really good coaches. So I ask Blake a lot of questions, and when I'm trying to understand the rules from this league, and I still got a bit of a learning curve there, but it's getting better and better. So I think those things are what I want to concentrate on right now, and that list will grow from what I have to learn, but I want to start. I don't want to bite off more than I can chew, and I want to start small and just kind of see where it expands to.
Well, Nate, we know the future is bright with Corpus Christi. We're looking forward to your first full season as the head coach, and good luck at camp. We look forward to seeing you and talking to you at the draft, and hopefully see you on the ice here this fall for the upcoming season.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks, Alex.
All right, Nate Weossner on another edition of NAHL Coaches Corner.